very freely. If you move your arm forward, this whole piece of bone is just slide and move around. You move the arm forward, it comes round the rib cage this way. You raise the arm up, it tilts up and changes direction and angle. The only place the arm is actually connected to your body is right here at the sternum, the center bone between all the ribs. Very important bone, by the way. I'll get more and more into that as we go along. And mainly because that's a great place to sort of define the center line. On that skeletal map right there we have, if you'll notice they've got this thing, it's a plumb line illustrated right through the form. And it's a perfect straight line. And you see the little triangular or diamond-like shaped dot all the way at the bottom. That's that heavy weight that what is it? A surveyor uses when they have that scope thing they're looking through. Someone's surveying your land. Someone is looking at something. They have that plumb line, and it gives them that takes a center point down to the ground. Because what they're doing is they'll measure. They'll actually mark a place that they can define on a map. That's the exact coordinates right there, and that plumb line goes over that thing, and this thing becomes rigid and upright and straightened out, and that way they can then use the scope to measure distances and straight lines, a quarter mile, a half mile down the way by, that guy with the stick. And he's looking through this thing with little haired things, and he's waiting for the guy with the stick to hit exactly right there. And says, okay, mark that spot. And they know that's an exact straight line between that point and that, which, they either make it like 90 degrees, which is due north or something like that, or something, Some of this you know. But that center line is important to us because that center line gives us some information in terms of the rotation of the body. Because as I mentioned, you guys were looking at this skeleton before. Okay, you see it exactly straight on. You're looking squarely straight on at it, just like we see up there on that little map up there on the wall. Yet in your case, and in your case, you're seeing it on an angle. Okay, that center line is not facing you. And this is something I want to point out because I've actually seen people do this in class. Let's draw the figure as you see it. Yet we study that. You're going to get the books on anatomy. I'm going to give you a list of books and things like that. We study that, and that shows you exact straight images. Okay, we look at these. That's the way they look in the books. They're straight on. But in the life drawing, we don't see things straight on. And I've actually said, okay, let's every draw the figure, but draw the skeleton that the figure would be, in that position. And I'll see people having the figure turned 3/4 view, but still draw that straight on. Just because, well, I know it that way. That's the way I studied it. The trick is you got to think about, okay, since I see it on an angle, well, you need to know where the center line is, and then you have to know where the center line is in the back, and then have a real idea that something is wrapping around. Okay, that's the 3D quality of it. We're seeing things on angles, which is easy for me because I do it all the time. But some of you, it's going to be a new adventure. And some of you, it's going to be easy. I know that. But for some of you, once again, it's like, okay, I got it. I've been there before where I've had students that this is a challenge. This is difficult. This is quite, this is over my head. And then 5th, 6th, 7th week of the quarter, all of a sudden they go, wow, that makes sense now. I'm starting to figure this stuff out. And a lot of it's repetition. Us talking about it. I'm talking a lot today, but I am hoping we get more interaction as we go. Us talking about it, me giving you more and more information on how certain things work. What happens over here, and then as a result, what happens over there. One of our big challenges besides, once again, proportion and symmetry, because the right and left side are symmetrical. This side mirrors that side, which is going to be a dream come true for you when you design a character in the computer, because eventually, well, I'll have to actually design one side of it. Okay? When I want the other side, I'll just grab everything over there and I'll mirror it over here. I'll make another one of them, and it's going to be symmetrical. It'll be perfect, unlike us, because more often than not, we're not symmetrical. They did a study, I remember, some time back, where they took photographs of famous people, and they actually just cut the faces in half, and then put the famous face over here, and mirrored it over there, and all of a sudden, well, that doesn't look like Marilyn Monroe, anymore. Because all of a sudden the symmetry was perfect, yet the person really wasn't. And it was in the asymmetrical nature of the human being that the personality was defined, not the symmetry. So that's part of the study of, hand-eye coordination. I see the thing, I draw the thing. And what I like to describe is like, what the hell am I looking at now? Because that's really what happens a lot. We have to try and look at something, study it, figure it out, and then try to get our hand to spill it out again. And eventually, as we get better and better at it, the more we don't think about it, sometimes the better we'll draw. We'll have to concentrate a lot in the beginning to figure things out. And then after a while, we start going on cruise control. And all of a sudden, you start acting and reacting. You drove here, all of you, am I right? Yes? All of you drove in the car?
Well, I took the bus.
Yeah, well, that's almost. For those of you that drove in the car, did you hit many things?
Not this time.
It was a good day. Congratulations. Ideally, it's not a good idea to hit things while you're driving in the car. Yet when you're driving in the, how many of you have ever driven the car and you're going from here to home, which might be in Katy or who knows where, and you get to wherever you've gotten to, along the lines of here's the head of your feet. How do I get from here to Guatemala or whatever? Have no recollection whatsoever of the stop signs that you stopped at, the red lights. A couple of you? That's very
Story of my
normal,
life.
to be honest with you. Because a lot of that's almost involuntary action. When you first drive the car, when you first take driving lessons as a kid, here's the brake pedal, here's the gas pedal, and here's the gas pedal, here's the brake pedal. Here's the clutch, here's the shifter, here's the wipers, and you got to think about all these things. And then after a little bit, pretty soon you're driving along and like you're playing with the wipers, you're changing the radio, you're finding a CD, you're doing all these things, picking your nose, everything as you're, and dialing, talking on a phone, unfortunately. And that's become second nature to you. Drawing, I'm hoping, eventually becomes that. You need to know a lot of things and concentrate on a lot of things and figure out a lot of things, but then drawing, cruise control should take over, and then you should be acting and reacting to what you're doing. And then after a bit, you have to take that step back, take a breath, examine, what the hell have I done? Does it work? Does it not work? What do I need to fix? Been there before. I spent a lot of time on really good drawings that I think was 2 hours on a drawing of a figure, a lovely model sitting still, doing everything they can to make my drawing work, and then I'll find that just towards the very end, there's all kinds of things wrong. I'll tweak it and change it right on the spot. Mess up the computer drawing, but it works better because I fixed it. I've altered things, made the foot right, those kind of things. But that's something we'll get to later. So the arm, this stuff floats around, connected only right here at the sternum. It's the only, and it's ligaments that hold it together. As I said, this thing all move around. And it's held in by muscles and forms that we'll talk about. Pelvic girdle, for the most part, that's one solid unit down there. It doesn't move around. It is bolted together for a reason. It does have flexibility. The sternum in the back, not sternum, sacrum in the back. A lot of S's, unfortunately. There's an awful lot of S's in this thing. This scapula,